Alright, Digi-Egg cards, I'm running Velgrmon from BT3 as my main source egg as for the undeletion to draw one and trash one to set up cards that we need in there. And you definitely want to run a 5th egg in this deck, which you'll see very soon. And my choice is going to be the Cupimon from BT16, so that when it's deleted, I get to trash a card from my hand to gain memory. And the whole reason why I'm running 5 eggs is because we do start off with the Ukumon package, maximizing the 4 from BT16 for search, and as well as the 1 of promo 1 to continue to cycle through our eggs and gain memory at the same time. Speaking of memory, the SD16 Velgrmon also helps facilitate that at the start of main phase, and I also have 1 copy of Ignitemon, which I'll explain further when we get into our level 6s. This deck runs quite a lot of rookies, as the idea is to rush your opponents down with them. So therefore, I also have Gazimon and Psychmon 2 copies each as my floodgate choice, and you guys can switch around the ratios based on the meta and your personal preference. And to round it all off, for effective searching and memory gaining back for a hybrid-based deck, 2 copies of the BT7 Velgrmon, which you intend to hard play all the time. For level 4s, the star of the show, certainly have to have the 4 copies of Duskmon, and I'm incredibly happy that this Digimon is finally brought into the card game after waiting for so long, and they did the right thing with it because it is packed with a ton of crazy effects. First, it can Digivolve for 3 on top of a level 3, or it can Digivolve on top of any purple tamer for 3 costs as well. But mainly, you want to Digivolve it for 2 costs with Koichi. Otherwise, you can also Digivolve it on top of a Velgrmon for 1 cost. Now, when you play this Digimon or Digivolve into it, you can change one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers into any other color except for white. This is one of the newest and most unique effects being brought into the game, and it's very interesting because you can potentially stop your opponent's Digimon or Tamers from Digivolving by changing its color, disrupting its color flow, or it's actually mainly intended to be synergized with Velgrmon, which we'll talk about just in a bit. And just like most human form hybrid traits from this set, when attacking, you can Digivolve into another hybrid trait, but it specifically needs to be a level 4 and from the trash, but you still get to reduce the cost by 1. Then it has a on-deletion effect, letting you play any color tamer as long as it's 4 costs or less from your trash for free. Then moving to Duskmon's beast form, Velgrmon, which can Digivolve for 4 on top of a level 3 purple or 4 costs on top of any purple tamer, otherwise Digivolving for 3 on top of Koichi specifically, or Digivolving for 1 on top of Duskmon. Lots of different ways to Digivolve into this card. When you play or Digivolve into this card, both you and your opponents are going to mill the top cards of their deck for each color Digimon and Tamer that they have on the board, which is why it's really important to make sure to choose correctly on what color your opponent's Digimon will become off of Duskmon when you get into it. And then for each card that is milled in total, you gain extra 1000 DP, where you gain at least 9k usually, but you can scale all the way to 20k, where this level 4 alone is almost basically a massive boss Digimon itself. At the end of attack, by deleting a level 4 or lower purple Digimon, which doesn't specifically have to be yours, it can actually be your opponent's, and that's actually important because I'll explain further in the combos later on. And then you get to delete all your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. Aside from that, Velgrmon also gives retaliation with his inheritable. Speaking of retaliation, I also run 1 copy of the new Kaiser Leomon just for that sake, and also whenever I get into it, I can delete something that's level 4 or lower as well at the same time to get rid of lower floodgate rookies and so on. Now that's it for the level 4s, and I'm not playing any level 5s in this deck. Now I know there's actually a slightly different approach and build that you can go for when it comes to Purple Hybrid to include the Lowe and Rihimon package as well, which we'll talk a little bit more, but that's also an entirely completely different deck and playstyle, which I might cover separately in a different video. So let me know in the comments down below if you want to see it, or give this video a like as well at the same time. So we're just going to jump into our level 6s here, where I'm playing 2 copies of BT11 Velgrmon. And that is exactly the reason why we run Ignitemon as well. But you may notice that we're only really running very few copies of these cards, and I'll explain more later on in the combos, but we're not really trying to rely into this to help us win the games, because the deck can actually win itself without it. It's more of just an extra bonus, which is nice to have when we can get into it. That's it for all of our level 6s and Digimon. Let's go ahead and start with our Tamers. I got 4 copies of the BT7 Koichi, which is the main priority that I want to focus on this deck because of its on-play effect. Being able to draw and trash is really important to help us cycle and set up and find the pieces as we need. It also has the on-deletion inherited effect to gain a memory, which can synergize and combo very nicely whenever we lose our Duskmon and give us a little bit of value back. As for the BT18 Koichi, I'm running 2 copies just so we can also gain additional memory by trashing a hybrid trait card from our hand at the start of main, but with its inherited effect, we can also cycle stuff back that we need need from the trash that's hybrid specific as well. As we move on with the Tamers, the main memory setter that I'm running is the 3 copies of the mat from BT2. The reason why is because we can also recur resources the same reason as we run the other Koichi, but this one is instant and also sets us at 3 at the beginning, so we can always easily go into Duskmon and keep turn. I'm also running 2 copies of AG just so we can also gain additional memory at the start of main phase as long as the opponent has a Digimon. But the nice thing about this is that we can also mind link it out at the end of turn, so whenever we go into our hybrids, we still continue to have that floating in the battle area to utilize it for the next. Then to sum up for all the Tamers, 1 Louis just for the Uko rush strategy to come out and swing for game, which is always really clutch. For options, I got the standard purple memory boost and mist memory boost where I'm running 2 of each, purple to search and mist memory boost to mill and draw. Speaking of memory gain, also got the 4 copies of Jack Raid, not only with the security effect that we can potentially pass the opponent's turn back to us. At the late game stages, once we milled enough cards, we can gain a ton of memory off of it to make even more plays and help us get into Velgrmon without passing turn. For removal options, got the 3 copies of Rival's Barrage, which is always great when we mill it, so then we can set in the battle area for delay to grab anything we want back from the trash. Aside from that, it can just delete the opponent's Digimon of the highest level, and same goes for Death Slinger. The longer the game goes, with the more cards that we have in the trash, the higher level we can delete with it. But since we mill as well at times, we get to gain memory off it as well. Tech choices and other cards that you guys can also be including for this particular deck. Since this is a purple based egg, you can actually also run the BT17 Flamemon as it can digivolve on top of Velgrmon, but also providing you a search for the deck itself. Another card you can also include is Genkakumon Promote if you want to have rush synergy with Velgrmon so that it can make an attack when it's played out. And you can also lock down your opponent's Tamers, where the BT17 level 5 Argomon specifically is really good for that, especially against the mirror match. You can also bring back the BT7 Kaiser-Leomon, which is effective to digivolve on top of any of your purple tamer for only 2 costs, and as long as you have Koichi underneath, you gain retaliation anyways, so sort of like the new one, but a little bit more memory efficient. And speaking of the whole Koichi package, you can also include the BT18 loweemon and the Rihimon package, which helps you extend to a whole different dimension of plays, which is very different to the rush strategy. But because they're also yellow, they can help you bridge into potential other cards where you can play Jet Selfie alongside with it. And because of every level 5 being yellow, that lets you expand into a whole wide toolbox of different yellow level 6s instead of just playing Velgrmon like I am. You can get access to Venusmon to stop down the opponent and slow down the game pace. You can go into Sendromon from EX7, which is really interesting because it gives you that aggression for the attack with overclock and DP reduction as well. Shadow Seraphi Ace to counter against your opponent's D-Digivolve and DP reduce. As for other level 6s, because you trash some cards from your hand, Nidhogg is also decent so that you can gain memory whenever you do so. If your opponent goes for wide boards and you need a generic staple, Death-X is also a really good level 7 to answer that. Akihiro from BT13 is nice to give you the end of turn cycle draw, which gives you the consistency that you need to continue to find your pieces. Because you only play Duskmon and Velgrmon, you need to see them as soon as possible, and having that really helps. And last but not least, Calling from Darkness to grab additional resources back, such as your Duskmon and Velgrmon back from the trash. But the deck itself is actually really good at doing that already, thanks to Matt and Rival's Barrage, which is why I didn't include in the main deck, but you can still add it in if you really want to. What other spicy tech choices or different builds you guys are approaching with Purple Hybrid and Duskmon? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright, combos and how to play the Duskmon Purple Hybrid deck. Starting with the mulligan hand, you want to see rookies, and that is exactly why we play a lot of them, just so we can digivolve in the back right away and try to establish an attack. We want to find our boosts to search and set up pieces in the trash at the same time. Very importantly, we need to find a way to get into our tamers and play our tamers as soon as possible, whether it's Koichi or Matt Ishida, and then we want to find access into Duskmon and Velgrmon to go for the combos. So for the first part, you want to start your turn with at least 2 memory access, a Koichi setup, and any rookie at the back. With Ukomon, you're going to search and then you're going to hatch, which is why it's really important, because you want to continue to cycle them one after another, because by digivolving to another rookie, you're keeping your momentum and you're rushing them down, and you also get that draw off of it. Then you want to go ahead and swing with the Ukomon or rookie that you have, and assuming it gets deleted in security or taken down by battle, this is when you get to utilize Velgrmon's effect to draw one and trash one, and the card you want to trash to set up in there is Velgrmon, because we're going to get access into it thanks to Duskmon, which we will then digivolve Duskmon on top of Koichi for only 2 cost. With Duskmon's when digivolving effect, you want to analyze your opponent's board and see what is the most optimal situation to change one of their Digimon or Tamer's color combo with Velgrmon once you get into it. Because next you're going to attack with the Duskmon, and with its when attacking effect, it's going to let you Digivolve into a level 4 hybrid from the trash. And you get to reduce the cost by 1, making Velgrmon for free on top of Duskmon. Once you get into Velgrmon, use its when digivolving effect for each different color Digimon and or Tamers that your opponent has on the board. Both you guys are going to mill the top card of your deck, and this is why it's really important to crucially decide what color you want to choose to optimally mill as much as possible. And the thing to keep in mind is that the more cards you mill with Velgrmon, the higher DP it becomes. It can reach up to 11 easily, 13 or even 15, ensuring that you can swing over almost any Digimon or safely attack into security. At the end of the attack, what you're going to do is you're going to delete a level 4 or lower purple Digimon. This is where it's really important to actually strategize your Duskmon earlier on what you change your opponent's Digimon, because if they have a level 4 or lower, you could have changed it to purple, because with Velgrmon, you can delete any purple level 4 or lower Digimon, and it doesn't necessarily have to be yours. It can be your opponent's, because afterwards, you're then going to board wipe their other side with all the Digimon with the lowest level afterwards too. If Velgrmon ever gets deleted, this is where you get to gain a memory off Koichi, and with that, Duskmon is going to let you play a Tamer back from the trash that is 4 costs or less, and it can be any color, assuming you play the Koichi. And the reason why I really like this Koichi is because on play, you draw one and trash one, and you get to set up as many Velgrmons as possible once again. But aside from just playing Koichi, sometimes you actually want to play Matt instead from BT2, because it can help you recycle your Duskmon pieces, and this is what we're going to explain a little bit further in the next combo. So for combo number 2, aside from having Koichi, having Matt helps you achieve the exact same thing. Assuming you have a rookie in the back once again, you want to just go ahead and push out, whether if Gabumon, your opponent has a Digimon on the board or not, you get to gain a memory, and it doesn't really matter, it can be any rookie, because the idea is, again, just like before, swing with it, have it deleted so that you can use Demi-Merumon's and Herd effect to draw and trash away Velgrmon to help you set up. The reason why having Matt or Koichi is great, because it will always give you access into Duskmon. As a matter of fact, Matt is even better, because with that, you're always guaranteed at 3 memory, and Duskmon can Digivolve for 3 on top of any purple Tamer, ensuring you always have that access. Whereas Koichi, you're gonna need 2 memory to do that. Just like before, utilize Duskmon's when Digivolving effect, change colors depending what your matchup is, then you attack with the Duskmon, same as before, Digivolve into Velgrmon from the trash, reduce the cost by 1, repeating the same thing, you both mill, take down your opponent's Digimon or security, whatever you need to control the board, utilize the end of attack, delete their Digimon or delete your own to also get rid of their Digimon, and whenever it gets deleted, this is where you repeat the same thing. You get to use Duskmon's Inheritable to play out the mat, cycle back the Duskmon, and the next turn, you get to rinse and repeat the exact same combo all over again. Now for the final combo, I'm going to show you guys what's the point of playing this Merva and why is it actually important to help you potentially give you an alternative way to finish games, 2 different methods. Now for the first method, the whole reason of setting these boosts in the early stages is so that you can utilize them to gain a lot of memory to go into Mervamon as you Digicross. Same reason of having Jack Raids in your hand, because this deck is so good at milling your own deck as well. You're going to rack up a lot of cards in your trash, and it's very easy to gain at least 2 memory in the mid to late stages of the game. So like I mentioned, 7 memory is really all you want to have access to. Cash out on your boosts, use your Jack Raids, gain a ton of memory. Let's just say you go all the way to 10 thanks to all these different kinds of options. You start your turn with a mat as well. Go into Mervamon and you get to cross with sources underneath from trash. This is where you put the Ignitemon underneath for the reduced cost. Once you pay 8, you get to play 2 bodies out. Ideally, it's going to be bodies that have potential retaliation. With Kaiser Leomon itself has retaliation, Velgrmon is also going to come out as well. You get to give everything that has retaliation thanks to Mervamon Rush. Once you play something out, Ignitemon is also going to gain you that memory back. Once your opponent is down to 2 security or fewer, swing with Kaiser Leo if not, or sequence it correctly depending on how you want to do it. And then Velgrmon doesn't have retaliation itself, but you can easily just Digivolve for 1 Duskmon on top of it, and now Velgrmon has retaliation, so you can go ahead and swing and go for the final attack. Aside from playing cards with retaliation and trying to rush for game, the other method is actually to go into 2 Velgrmons, and the idea with this is that you can mill both you and your opponent to either finish the game that way instead. The other deadly combo is that if you have at least 2 memory left after this, you can then Digivolve for 1 on top of Duskmon, and then use the Duskmon to swing, Digivolve and access into your other Velgrmon for 0 cost, and further mill again, and utilizing Duskmons when digivolving to change anything that's Tamer or Digimon on the board so that you can maximize the milling. And you repeat this exact same thing with this stack on the side as well. For 1, swing with the Dusk, digivolving into your 4th and final copy of Velgrmon, because at that point you have cycled your trash so tremendously, you have everything that you need in there, and you get to mill and just pass turn and you win that way. Don't forget to grab the Spirit Transcendence collection on the AVAULT store right now, as we have limited quantities. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.